Trader, I hope you made money from last week's review in Rev-UP because everything we said played out. The CPI, the direction, the setup, all of it.
Right, so what do I think is going to happen? I know this sounds crazy, right? I know this sounds crazy, but folks, the CPI comes out October 24th. If the CPI increases, it's going to go down a little bit and then straight up. Okay, we're going to go down a little bit. If they need inventory because they believe that there is a possible spike in retail price in the future. We have it all drawn out right here. I believe the 2-hour chart, 4-hour chart is going to show us exactly what we're looking at, right? So everybody feel free to take a snapshot of this. I'm going to myself.
This week, we're breaking down what happens next, so lock in and really listen.
Traders, this is Revan Wood. I go by SageFT. You're watching a live trading desk review and Rev-UP for the 26th. I hope your teams are winning. Let's dive right into this. First thing, make sure you use the code SageFT at checkout at your favorite prop firm. Let's dive right into this. What we have here is a picture of last week's snapshot that I told everybody to take a picture of. I hope you took a picture of it because what I want to show you is we talked about this is where the government shutdown started. They found liquidity above. Where they're going to find liquidity below at this supply level becomes demand, 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 right? And this is very, very simple video because we have to think about greed versus fear. Now, on the tape this week, what I'm going to tell you right now is there's somebody buying a lot of it. Now, if somebody's buying it, that also means somebody's selling it, right? We'll get into that, what we're going to look at next week with that information shortly. We want to understand the difference between fear and greed at these levels. Now, watch. This is what it looks like, no matter if you're on the 2-minute, 5-minute, 15-minute, 4-hour, daily. This is the 2-hour chart just to show everyone. It's just a picture. Okay. Now, before we get into what happened, what were we looking for? Well, remember, on last week's review and Rev-UP, which you should go back and watch, you're going to see how I explained exactly how this works. And so if we're looking for pockets of liquidity, we're going to use it the same way. They're looking for pockets of liquidity, right? So would this be a draw point? This be a draw point? So this is what was viewed, right? Go back and watch that previous video. All right. Now, what we want to see is, was the draw on liquidity enough? So what they did was they got as much as they could to sell, to buy it back in roughly the 50% level of these plausible demand pockets underneath this level. Let's take a look. So if we zoom in, this is the 2-hour. We can go to the 15-minute chart. And how did we play it? Again, we just waited for it to go back into position 1. We entered when it was appropriate on the smaller time frames. And when it was to the sell side, well, we just waited for it to go back into position 1 or fractal up or fractal down. And we executed exactly the same way over and over again. Now, what you'll notice is it goes down faster, but you have to be careful. You can't just say, oh, it's fractal down, short. No, well, you got to find the right places to be able to sell because what's going to happen is they're going to absorb you. So now, I don't mean what's next week. What I mean is how did we play it? Well, once we got this higher high, you're just looking for everything to flip upwards again. Now, you see how we have this drawn, not this, okay, not this, okay, but this break is what you were waiting for, okay? Now, because you can increase your odds, like if you're waiting to go long, right? You can even wait to go over here, but you want to at least wait. That's why we have it all drawn here. If you're looking for something and you're bullish, you believe that they have bought the pocket, right? They've got the liquidity down here. What you're watching for is it's failed. Look, they failed to the downside to get to the 1.618. So then you start measuring, holding the 50, holding the 61.8, right? Your OTE is between 61.8 and 0.78. Okay. Look at how tight they make it and they get you in it. But look at this. Look at this. You have a very limited time to pull back and get in. Look at this. If you're really going OTE. All right. So now let's dive into that little spot right there. It's 2:30 in the afternoon on October 22nd, 2025. Let's just use the 2-minute chart that we have here. Okay. Let's look at this. This is kind of cool here. 2025, 22. Let's see if there's anything that we can dissect. Okay. What I see here is the same pattern. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, did you know that we trade fractals? Watch this. Okay. Now, everybody says, well, what does a fractal look like? All right, here's the 2-hour, okay? Here's the 15-minute. Here's the 2-minute. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, this may be the best example of fractals you're ever going to see on the internet today. This is the difference between fear and greed. Let's dive in. Fear is right here, okay, at 98. Big round number of 6,700, right? But notice, tap, 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 Okay, what we want to notice is when we go down into a fractal, right, we are all the way down in this business, right? We are 2 hour, okay, 15 minute, okay, now watch, 2 minute. Okay, so the first thing you're going to notice, you have to take notice of, there's 3 things, not 2 on the chart. Okay, there's 3 things that create the price as far as I'm concerned, or that's on the chart. Okay, so price, time, and volume, right? We have to know what the big boys are doing. Look, so they sell it here, high volume. This is your exhaustion, right? So no matter what, you brick that. You're like, all right, so now, oh, well, it breaks. Oh, okay. So watch the difference between fear and greed. This is a great example of it. This is so great. Notice on the 15-minute chart, we were talking about how do we get in down here on the OTE. Look, from all-time highs. Look, right here, OTE. Now watch, you get a failure to try to get any distance, right? So it completes. So now you start to see the buyers come in. This would be my clue to start watching, is this bar here. Okay, so then you're right here. Fear and greed. Watch this. Fear. Watch. Greed. Fear on one side. Fear. Oh no. Greed. Okay, now think about this. So this is the change in the state of delivery, right? Change in character, change in state of delivery. Look at this right here. And you wonder, how do you get in on the 15-minute OTE? How do we take advantage of fear into greed? Ladies and gentlemen, there it is right there. That is diving deep, right? That's precision. That's surgical, right? Now on the front of how would we get in? Well, you just wait for our patterns to repeat that we show on the stream. All right, now let's look at this as what is going to happen into the future. What are we looking for? All right, let's go back to the 2-hour chart and look at how this just played out. Look. It was absolutely perfect. Okay, now let's go to the 4-hour chart, and I want to recognize that we have inflation at 3%. So the cost of living allowance adjustments can be placed for the Social Security checks. Now, but what I want to show you, let's look at technically. This is going to blow your freaking mind, right? Right now, using the Joey charts. Okay, if you want to learn more about the Joey charts, jump in the stream, jump in the Discord. We have a free Discord. We'll put the link down below. Join the stream every Monday through Friday. Look at how it nailed it. Now this wasn't drawn after the fact. Oh, it gets up here, put a line in there. No. Okay, you're on the 45-minute chart. Okay, it's either going to break through here and get to here, or we're going to come straight back down. Okay, and first stop, if we're going to come down, first stop, and we're already on its way, is, according to Joey, Fast Joey in the room, Fast Joe Blow. Say hi to him when you're there. Okay, first measurement, you've got 19 and 9. Now 9 lines up beautifully with momentum. So it'll be very interesting in this next week. How do we play it? Well, we have to see if there's going to be another buyer coming in, or they're going to do some sort of whipsaw action and chop everybody to pieces at all-time highs. So how are we going to play it? Well, folks, we're just going to wait for our fractals to repeat, and we're going to trade our fractals exactly the way that we trade them every single day. We're going to wait for our process to repeat. We're going to be patient. We're going to be disciplined. We're going to be focused. We're going to lock in, and we're going to take advantage of when we get a change in the state of delivery, right? Here's a change of character. It's giving you a little bit more information. Now, what we're going to do, though, which I'm not going to put on this stream, is we're going to show the fear and the greed inside the candles, folks. Yes, that's right. You heard it here. We're not going to be watching the scoreboard. We're going to be watching the game. That's going to do it for me. My name is Rev-UP. I go by SageFT. You can find me on x.com at _SageFT. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Turn notification bells on. Folks, what I show people is more than just candles on a chart, okay? I want to remind you that what you see on the screen is a reflection of self. We don't want to be me, okay? We want to be the observer. We want to be I. Trade from the position of I. I'll see you tomorrow morning. Good night.